What's going on, guys? Marcus here, back in the shop, and it's been quite a minute, man. It's been a few months, actually, if you haven't noticed that I haven't really been dropping videos, and two reasons. The one main important reason is because when I stopped dropping these videos was because I was in my last semester of school and I wanted to finish it. So long story short, I finally graduated college. So props to me, clap it up, give my props, man. Like this video, and you would know this if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing. That's how you get in tune with my social life, my personal life. If you're ever wondering why I haven't dropped a certain video on this time, if you just want to get in contact with me and we can just chop it up, follow me on Instagram or Twitter, man. I'll put it right here in the link below. I'll follow you back. And yeah, pretty much that's where I was at, just finishing school. Another reason too was that my camera died. So I ended up just getting a new camera recently. T4i, it's an older model, but the model that I had before was a T3i. And for whatever reason, it just was not working. So here's my old camera, now obviously recording with my new camera with the T4i, and it's working beautifully. So yeah, so now that I got my camera, I got school out the way, I could just focus on this and making some money. So yeah, here we go. So this is my top 10 hip hop albums of 2016. It's long awaited because it's actually January 9th, so I'm a little late, but some albums came out late, like towards the end of the year, so I had to digest and process them before I threw them on my top 10 list. And mind you, before I go into this list, I'm not focusing on mixtapes. It has to be a studio album, except one. I let one slip in the cracks. I let one mixtape slip in the cracks of my top 10, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But again, this is my top 10 personal list. This doesn't mean that these are the top 10 best albums that just came out in general. My list may be different from your list. My list may be similar to your list, but there may be certain albums that you might want to switch here and there, but it's all opinions at the end of the day. So I'm also not going to go into full-length depth of some of these albums because a lot of these albums I already covered in the past. So if I did, I'll probably just put like a review or like a link in the description box below so you can check out my full review on there. And I noticed that some of these albums that I actually gave really good scores to when they came out, I didn't put them on my list, and some of them were actually didn't even make the top 5 that I gave a really good review because I noticed that there wasn't much replay value. So fuck all that, let's actually get into the list now. Number 10. At number 10, I had Schoolboy Q's Blank Faced. Now, dope project, dope album, Blank Face. I would say Schoolboy Q is probably my second favorite member out of Black Hippie, next to obviously Kendrick Lamar. But honestly, this wasn't as good as Oxymoron personally, and I'm not going to get into too much details why. If you compare the two without going into too much details of the two albums, I just prefer Oxymoron. To me, Oxymoron had a lot more replay value. Blank Face was good, just after listening to it for the first few days, I kind of moved past on that because I think there was a lot more going on. At the same time, I believe, I may be wrong, but the weekend that this album came out, there was a lot of shit going on in the country with the police brutality. I don't know if we get into all that, so I think that might have hurt me listening to it. It may have hurt like the replay value, but after listening to it a couple more times recently, I'm pretty much gonna stick to what I said as far as Oxymoron is just a better album personally. So that's why I at least made number 10. Now number 9 is A Tribe Called Quest, We Got It From Here, Thank You For Your Service. Similar to why Blank Face made number 10. Not my favorite album, but this was a great album for 2016. This is like the perfect mix or blend of conscious rappers into like one compilation album, even though it wasn't technically a compilation album. But we got the backpackers, we got the conscious rappers, of course we're talking about Kanye, we're talking about Consequence, Q-Tip, Phife Dawg, Talib Kweli, Kendrick Lamar, all on one album. If you're into conscious music and if you're into that backpack shit, this is definitely the album for you. Personally, this isn't my favorite Tribe album. Of course, it was some good nostalgia feeling behind it. It was good to hear, rest in peace, Phife Dawg. It was good to hear Phife and Q-Tip on tracks together, going back and forth. But again, me personally, my favorite album will be The Low End Theory. That's an album that I blasted through high school, even though that album was already maybe over 10 years older than when I was listening to it, but that's just my favorite Tribe album. So good album. I actually like disc 1 over disc 2, again without me going to too much specifics on reasons why. I just prefer disc 1 over disc 2, but it made number 9. Number 8 is Sill Brazy by YG. Now, I actually gave this a very good review when it came out, and I believe it came out over the summertime. And part of the reason why I gave it such a good review is because of the time it came out. Came out during the summertime, as I said earlier. To me, West Coast G-Funk rap, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Game, well, Game's not too much G-Funk, but I guess older Game, Nate Dogg, all these West Coast G-Funk rappers, to me, they sound the best when it's hot outside because of the, I guess, the climate, you know what I mean? Like, they're West Coast rappers, it's sunny California, so it gives me that real sunny Cali feeling behind it. With the windows down, blasting that shit out loud when you're driving on the highway, just driving down the street. And I noticed that after a few weeks of Sill Brazy being out, it didn't really have that much replay value behind it. And I actually prefer Sill Brazy over My Crazy Life. Again, I'm not gonna go into too much detail on it. I actually reviewed this album when it came out, so I'll put the link in the description below. But yeah, it made number 8 pretty much because of the replay value. I haven't listened to it since the sun went away and the snow clouds came about here in Maryland. Number 7 is 2001 Life of Odyssey by Flatbush Zombies. Now I'm gonna be honest, this is my first project I've ever listened by Flatbush Zombies. Yeah, my first project I ever listened to them from by, if that makes any sense at all. I was aware of them, but I had never actually listened to anything from them. And I thought this shit was so unique, so different. Michi Darko, like their voices, his voice specifically was so unique. It was so gravelly and just rough and gritty. Again, I'm gonna go into, if you want to check out my full length review, I'll put it in the box below, in the description below. But I noticed, similar to YG Sill Brazy, the replay value wasn't there. I want to say a couple months after that, I was listening to it, but didn't have that same magic appeal from when I first listened to it. I haven't really listened to it since. Again, I listened to it recently to make this top 10 album list. The replay value is still not there personally. I love the joint though, by the way. I could probably still knock to it, but really can't say much. Again, if you want the full length review, I'll put it in the description below. Number 6, Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar. Really not much else to say about this album. I didn't do a review on it, but it's Kendrick, man. He's always gonna drop some dope shit. Honestly, the reason why I made my number 6 is because I feel like it's a Pimp a Butterfly light. Like, it's obviously an album that consists of How to Pimp a Butterfly's tracks that just did not make the album. And for me personally, I could tell. Great album, great stuff from Kendrick Lamar. I can't expect anything less. He's my favorite rapper out the West Coast as of right now. And he's my favorite out of Black Hippie. Obviously, like most of you guys, he was probably your favorite too. Untitled Unmastered, dope album. Really wasn't much promotion behind there. I don't even think there was a single now that I think about it, but to me, if we're comparing it from the last album, I like How to Pimp a Butterfly better. Number 5 is TLOP from Kanye West, The Life of Pablo. Not going into too much details about it because I reviewed it already, so I'll put it here in the description below. If I sound like I'm a little nasally, if you can't tell, I'm a little like sick, kind of coming off a little cold, so that's probably why I'm stuttering over my words. And I'm gonna be honest, this is the first time I talked in front of a camera by myself in a minute. You know, I've been doing my little podcast shit, but there's the reason right there. But TLOP, dope album, man. It's Kanye. I was about to say Drake. It's Kanye. You know, production is always gonna be fire. 100 sounds better than Yeezus. Like Yeezus had like maybe 2 or 3 good songs on there. TLOP, I can't really say the same. TLOP was a dope project. I could listen to it from the beginning to the end. You know, getting away from Kanye's antics. I know he just had like a meltdown recently, but if we're talking about specifically the artwork itself or the art itself, the music, it's Kanye, man. He's always gonna bring heat when it comes to this production. I love the features that he had on there. TLOP is actually the first time where I really appreciated the next artist or the next album or the next artist that I'm about to talk about in his project, and I'll get to that in a second. But TLOP was just dope, man. Again, if you want to get my full-length review, put it in the description box below. Number 4. Now, remember in the beginning of the video when I said I let one mixtape slide in here? One mixtape. And the reason why I got into listening to this certain artist is because of TLOP, like I said earlier. And that mixtape is obviously Coloring Book by Chance the Rapper. I did not review that album, or that mixtape rather, and I regret doing so. And I'm gonna be honest, the reason why I didn't review it is because I've gone on record and said in the past that I don't like Chance the Rapper because his voice was really annoying at the time. He sounded very nasally, sounded like a very annoying little brother, like me. Like it was super annoying. It was something about his voice. Come on, man. Like it was just something about it I just could not stand. But after listening to his verse on The Life of Pablo, I was like, I really should check this guy out and put my personal opinions to the side, and maybe, just maybe, his music will actually change my opinions about his voice and about this guy in general. When I listened to Coloring Book, totally changed my mind. I guess I looked past his voice because I love this joint right here. I'm not going to go into too much details about it. I'm sure the same reasons why you like the mixtape are the same reasons why I liked it, and that's the reason why this was able to sneak past, I guess, my own rules of why I was able to let a mixtape go into a top 10 albums list. Because when I was looking at all these other albums that I really liked, they made my top 15, my top 20, but I wasn't so sure about putting in my top 10. So Chance the Rapper, I'm definitely looking forward to a next project. I'm actually looking forward to a full-length album. I'm not sure if Coloring Book is actually technically an album now, because nowadays, if a mixtape gets crazy high reviews and you start selling it like on iTunes or Google Play, it turns out to be an album now, even though it originally started as a mixtape. But I'm still classifying it as a mixtape, even though I'm putting it as my top 10 albums of 2016. This is a dope project for the most part. So moving on. Number 3, For Your Eyes Only, J. Cole. Now this joint, like the next few projects I'm about to talk about, actually came in pretty late in the year. Now J. Cole is an artist that I really appreciate because I'm into lyrics, I'm into bars, especially in a time right now where mumble rap, mumble melodic dudes are just the new wave, and I'm cool with it. You know, I like 21 Savage and I listen to Lil Uzi Vert from time to time, but in the core essence of my fandom of hip-hopness, if that made any sense, I'm always going to appreciate bars. I'm always going to appreciate a good story behind that artist. And J. Cole is one of those guys. Now I'm going to be honest, I wasn't really feeling J. Cole's first 2 albums like that. I have them here somewhere, but they were just okay. Now, a lot of people say it's pretty much like 2014's Forest Hill Drive. Like they say it's the exact same thing, just slightly different. I've heard that a couple times. Personally, I guess I could see why you would say that. I mean, it's the same comparison to me personally when I made Untitled and Unmastered compared to How to Pimp a Butterfly. But I just really enjoyed this album. I actually enjoyed it more than the other one. And the reason being is just because I felt like I vibed to it a lot more. I mean, I'm not talking about like the lyrics and the bars are like crazy and shit like that. The one song that he has going against Kanye and Wale, I can't think of the name right now. False Prophets, I just Googled it. False Prophets. When that joint came out, I think it came out a few days before the album was released, and a lot of people were buzzing like, oh, he's going at Wale, he's going at Drake, oh shit, there's a new beef that's gonna pop off at the end of the year. And turns out it wasn't no beef. I mean, he threw shots at those guys, but they were able to take it on the chin and again move on. I don't know if Kanye ever responded, but we saw Wale, you know, at the basketball game with J. Cole, I want to say like 2 days later, and he even made a response. I believe it was called Groundhog Day or something. At first I was kind of disappointed, like, why did that joint make the album? Like, that joint was pretty tough. Like he took that Joey Badass sample or the beat and made it his own. Like he made it his own song. You forgot that it was actually an original song somewhere else. But I could see why it didn't make the album, because it didn't really fit the chemistry or the feel behind it. J. Cole is just one of these guys that's just, you gotta give props to. There's somebody you gotta tip your hat to, man. This guy, in this day and age of mumble rappers, mumble melodic MCs, this dude is giving you bars, and he's still young. I think he's like maybe 30 or something. And to you guys, that may be old as fuck, but it's still pretty young. I have nothing bad to say about the album. My favorite track, honestly, is, what's it called? Folding Clothes. Yeah, Folding Clothes is actually my favorite. Let me make sure that's the name of the song. Yeah, Folding Clothes. That's actually my favorite song. And it's funny because I've seen other reviews, specifically Anthony Fantano, talking about, no one's giving you props, dude, for doing the laundry. Like, I could see why you would tease that song, but just a song that's talking about everyday life of you doing a simple chore with your girl, that's something, to me personally, when you get into a certain age where going out, getting drunk, getting high, going to clubs, going to bars just isn't fun anymore, and you'd rather kick back at the crib with your girl, folding clothes and watching Netflix and eating breakfast and just joking around with each other. When that shit becomes fun, that's how you know you're getting old, I guess. But that shit was something that I personally vibed with, because that's something I could relate to, because I don't really like going out like that anymore. I'd rather just kick back on a Friday night with my girl and just watch TV and watch a movie, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess if you're more mature, you'll enjoy this album. But if you're listening to Lil Uzi Vert or Yachty and all you care about is turning up and popping pills and popping perks and sipping lean, you might not give a fuck about this project. That's totally understandable, because it's a different time right now. So that's just my personal opinion. Number 2. Now this joint actually almost made my number 1. almost like it was like right there. But my number 2 project of 2016 is Filthy America, It's Beautiful by the Lox. Now, you cannot call yourself a hip hop fan, you cannot call yourself a rap fan if you are not a fan of D Block, Jadakiss, I said Jadakiss, Sheik Luch, Styles P. These dudes are just straight hardcore rap. When you think of gritty, grimy New York rap, other than like Wu-Tang and Nas and these guys, the Lox is a group that you should always be thinking about. They're the only MCs that I can personally feel like they can fit in today's era. Like, people talk about, oh, Wu-Tang, when's Wu-Tang coming back? Look, Wu-Tang is my favorite group of all time. You know, I got Raekwon's right here, only built for Cuban Links on my shelf. But the Lox, I feel like they're able to just work in any generation of music. I mean, they worked in the mid-2000s, they worked in the late 2000s with No Security. I think that was a compilation album. And then they're working now with this joint right here. This is their 3rd official album, but they've always been able, individually, they've always been able to work with different artists of today's time. And these guys came out in the 90s with Biggie, and they're still able to ring heads and just knock on the mainstream door and like, yo, we still in this bitch. Like, just when it comes to hardcore raps, hardcore lyrics, these guys are like just the embodiment. Is that a word? Embodiment? Whatever. They're just those dudes. Like, you can't be a fan of rap and hip hop and not mention the Lox. And these dudes are just it. Like, this joint, like, this was something, again, it came out pretty late in the year, and I was just listening to it over and over and over again. It has crazy replay value. There's not a song on here that I want to skip, other than the interlude when they're going at the interviewers or whatever and asking them questions and they're just shitting on them. That may be like the only part that I skip off the album, especially where this year went about, specifically during the summer with the Black Lives Matter movement and police brutality. This shit, just the title says it itself. Filthy America, It's Beautiful. Just the concept behind it. It's just a dope project. That's all I can really say. Now, before I get into my number 1 pick of 2016, I'm gonna name some honorable mentions real quick. And the reason why these did not make the list, I may have said it earlier before in the beginning of the video, this shit's kind of hella long so I don't really remember, is because either the replay value wasn't there like I thought it was, or I just couldn't see myself throwing them on the top 10, but they made my top 15. The first one is Childish Gambino by Love Awakens. Now, I've gone on record, if I have not gone on record, I've definitely tweeted it out before in the past. I'm not a fan of him, honestly. I've never really been a fan of him as far as rap. You know, I don't really think he's that funny either. I've seen some of his stand-up, I don't think he's that funny. I think he's a good actor. I haven't checked out that show Atlanta, but I've heard nothing but good stuff behind it. But his raps, to me, put it to you this way. Once I was getting a haircut and my barber was playing that shit, and I was like, yo, why do you listen to this shit? It's kind of corny. He goes, what the fuck you mean? Childish Gambino is that dude. And then maybe 45 seconds later, he's sitting there cutting my hair, and he changed that shit and goes, yo, you know what? This shit is getting fucking annoying as hell. It was like verbatim, it was something like that. And it's just because I always thought he was kind of a corny dude as far as rapping goes. At the time, I felt like he was just trying too hard. That's just me personally. Again, I thought the same thing about Chance the Rapper, so maybe a year later, I may change my mind about Childish Gambino. It's not really a hip hop project. It's not really a rap album. Personally, that's how I feel. It's more of a neo soul funk joint. And this joint bumps, man. This joint bumps. Like, it's just, it knocks, man. The first song that I heard is Redbone, and only reason why I know about this song is because of the Chuck E. Cheese challenge that went viral on Instagram. If you haven't seen it, you must be living under a rock. Go YouTube it. It's 3 dancers, and they're popping like the animatronics that you would see at a Chuck E. Cheese and shit, and they're playing that song in the background. It's just a dope little video. But when I actually found out it was Childish Gambino, I was like, that don't even sound like him. Let me go check this joint out. It was dope. I loved it. But the only reason why I did not make the top 10 is because I personally don't feel like it's a rap album. It's more of a neo soul funk joint. The next one is Anderson .Paak, Malibu, pretty much for the exact same reason for My Love Awakens. Anderson .Paak's Malibu, I believe this is his first album. First time I heard of him, I think it was the Games album, his little 2-disc, the documentary 2 and 2.5. I think that was the first time I heard Anderson .Paak, and I loved his voice from that time when I first heard it. So when Malibu dropped, I was rocking with that shit, and it came out in January. But I felt like I really loved the album when it came about spring, like when it was sunny outside, had the windows down, driving down the street. That's when I really appreciated it, because it was just a sunny, fun album to me. But again, it's not, to me, I can't really classify it as a rap album, even though Anderson .Paak does drop bars here and there from time to time. I can't really classify it as a top 10 hip hop album. Now, if this was a top 10 album list of 2016, yeah, it'll definitely be there. Now, the next album is one of my favorite MCs of all time. Maybe not the best lyricist of all time, but Young Jeezy, Trap or Die 3. Last year, Young Jeezy, Church in the Streets, that album actually made my top 10. And when I come to think about it, I haven't really listened to that album since. You know, like, I didn't want like the fanboy to come out at me and be like, oh, Jeezy, this shit is gonna be bumping, this shit is gonna be crazy. And I did enjoy the album, I'm not gonna lie to you. I really loved it. My favorite song off this joint is the joint with Bankroll Fresh. All There, yeah, All There. That's actually my favorite song off this joint. And this is my introduction to Bankroll Fresh. Of course, he died recently, so rest in peace to Bankroll Fresh. I noticed that I could listen to this album from beginning to end when I'm at the gym. And when I'm lifting weights, when I'm on the cardio machines, whatever, I'm vibing out, I'm zoning out, it's my shit. But I realize when I'm just driving down the street or when I'm just walking in my commute or just at home listening, cleaning and listening to this shit, I notice that I'm hitting the skip button a lot. There's certain songs in this album that I just really don't care for. I'm not gonna go into too much details of what song it is, but I just, that's something that I definitely noticed. I can only really listen to it from beginning to end when I'm at the gym. So that's why they make my top 10, needless to say. And those are some honorable mentions. There are a few more, but I don't really feel like going into them. You know, the other ones are pretty much mixtapes. As far as albums, they were, you know, East Lies another one, Kevin Gates. I didn't write that down in my notes, but I just thought about it. I actually I did a review on that too. Dope album, Kevin Gates. I think he's a fucking weirdo. And there were people in the comment section that were trying to defend him during that video. You didn't help at all. You didn't change my opinion at all. If anything, my opinion even got worse about this guy. I really think he's a fucking weirdo. Makes good music though. I'm not gonna lie, he makes really good music. As far as him personally, I really don't care about the dude. My number one album, my number one pick of 2016 is Peach Panther by Riff Raff. I feel like Riff Raff is somebody that a lot of people just overlook. They don't take him seriously because he's silly, he's got the pink hair and he's just a weird character. But y'all gotta listen to this album. Yeah. Alright, I'm fucking with you. Now, the number one pick of 2016 is Run the Jewels 3 by Run the Jewels, which is a duo by Killer Mike and LP. And this is actually my first time ever listening to Run the Jewels project. And that shit goes. That is, again, I almost made this list or this video last week, and it was like a few days after this album came out. And this album came out like, I think right before the New Year's or right before Christmas. I fuck with this shit a lot when it came out. Like, I was bumping to it. It's like, again, that similar to Trap or Die 3, this is an album that I can listen through from beginning to end at the gym. But I noticed the only difference is I can listen to this album from beginning to end while I'm driving, while I'm cleaning, while I'm cooking, doing laundry, just on my commute. This is just a fire ass album. As I said earlier when I was talking about the locks, I'm just a fan of bars, of hardcore punch in your mouth lyrics, like just some shits that just make you just make that ugly face. I'm a fan of mumble melodic MCs, mumble melodic music, the Yachty's, the Lil Uzi Verts, the 21 Savage, the Designers. All these guys, I like the music that's coming out now, but at the end of the day, that's a new genre. It's a new genre of hip hop. I fell in love with the hardcore rhymes, Mobb Deep, Raekwon the Chef, you know what I mean? Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. This is the hip hop that I fell in love with. This album is full of energy. There may not be crazy metaphors, like, you know, if you're listening to like a Lil Wayne project or a Cassidy project, but just that hardcoreness behind them, the grittiness. You got Killer Mike bringing the Atlanta swag behind there, and then you got LP, I believe he's from New York, so it has that East Coast feeling, like when he's talking about like riding the train while smoking dust back in the days. Like, I remember, I'm not saying you should smoke dust, I'm not saying that at all, but I remember Wu-Tang and these guys talking about smoking dust. Like, that's some New York shit apparently. I almost put the Locks as my number one until this came out, and I was very skeptical about making this my number one because, again, it was so new and I was like, I don't know if I digested it enough, but I've been listening to it like almost every day since it came out, and this shit is just tough. Like, also, this is also my first Run the Jewels album I listened to. I listened to Run the Jewels 2, and same thing, this shit is just dope. I have not listened to the first project yet, but I'm gonna go back and do my homework on them. But that's pretty much it, guys. This is my top 10 favorite hip-hop albums of 2016. I know it feels like my list was everywhere, and it feels like I've been talking about everything. I feel like I've been just rambling, but if you've been fucking with me, you know that I've been keeping up with my podcast that I have on SoundCloud. I need you guys to subscribe to that. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's all below. If you're ever wondering where I've been, you would know why. You would have knew why if you followed me on Twitter, on Instagram. I posted it all there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just letting you guys know, if you follow me there, we can always talk back and forth. I have no problems communicating with you guys outside of YouTube, because I may not always read the comments, but I'm always going to be on my IG or my Twitter. So if there's something that you want me to review, if there's something that you want to get off your chest, we can just talk right there on Twitter or on Instagram. It's social media. Let's communicate with each other. That's what I want to do for 2017. I want to get more into making my reviews again more consistently, and I want to get my social media up, and I want to get to know you guys a lot more personally outside of just YouTube and shit. And that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what y'all think. Did y'all agree with my list? Did you hate my list? Did you agree with my list but want to change up certain things here and there? Let me know. Let me know your top 10 list of 2016 down below. Am I fucking crazy or whatever it is? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Happy New Year's to you guys. I know it's pretty late. I know I'm kind of rambling, but it is what it is. Enjoy the new year, 2017. Time to make some new moves, and I'll catch y'all later.